I remember my doctors, and especially my GP at the time, I have a story about that. I'll probably save it for later. Was like teaching me how to breathe again. And in my head, because I'm very cerebral, so I was like getting frustrated with myself. Like, why is it so difficult? Forgetting that clearly I have a huge blood clot in my lungs, so obviously it's going to be hard. But just learning or relearning how to breathe in and out. And it's not just like you breathe in, you breathe out, but with your diaphragm. So when you inhale through your nose, your diaphragm is supposed to expand. And when you exhale through your mouth, your diaphragm is supposed to come in. So when you look at it, it's kind of like this. This is how it's working. Okay? You're breathing in, your diaphragm goes, You're breathing in, so you're inhaling, your diaphragm is supposed to expand. You're breathing out through your mouth, your diaphragm is supposed to go in. So for me, I was becoming a little analytical or over analytical about a simple task. But that was painful. And not like to make matters worse. It's not like I'm just trying to learn how to breathe. I have to learn how to walk as well, because I can't walk at this moment. And even just lifting and raising my arms, I couldn't do it. So this is as far as it could go. Because the clot burden, there was too much trauma here, literally all over here. So any kind of like movement, any kind of lifting, raising, it was strenuous on my chest area. So for me, like I'm even emotional. It's a miracle, and I'm so grateful that I can even do this. Like, there was a time I couldn't do it. This is as far as I could go. So what does that mean? How do I get dressed? I couldn't dress myself. My mother, like I said, she's a nurse. Maybe, just maybe, she became a nurse all those years ago. And she didn't know it. For a time such as this, her baby girl needed her. She is used to supporting and helping people in the hospital, long-term care, nursing home care, you name it. And so, I'm so grateful that I had her, and I still have her as my support system and primary caregiver. Because she's not just caring for me as my mother, but also as a medical or health care provider and professional. So, yeah, I couldn't walk for a whole year. I had to learn how to walk again. I had to learn how to breathe again. I had to learn how to do everything again. I was practically, and this may come as negative to some people, but I felt useless, because it's like my world came crashing down just like that. I wasn't in an accident. Not that it's better or easier for someone to be in an accident, but at least you understand or you have an idea of, the repercussions and what might come with being in an accident. An accident or something that is severely traumatic, but mine is medically. To make matters worse, nobody till this day knows what caused it. It's unprovoked. So it means, I didn't have surgery. I wasn't taking anything that we can say definitely caused this or led to the blood clots. So, this was very difficult for doctors to even understand, how this transpired and what led to this. And to kind of give me like a prognosis or some sort of idea of, okay, a treatment plan. So obviously playing it safe, they prescribed, like I mentioned before, me to be on high dose of blood thinners from the very beginning, and down the road I would taper off or reduce the dosage based on, my echocardiogram. So my echocardiogram was them performing or using an ultrasound to see my heart, because sometimes a lot of people don't understand that the lungs and the heart work together. You can't have a damaged or impaired heart and your lungs are okay. Your heart supplies blood to your lungs. So if that source is damaged, you're in trouble with your lungs. But on the other hand, the lungs also supply oxygen. So if that part is impaired, you're in trouble. Well, not just with the heart, but with everywhere in the body. So I had to have periodic echocardiograms to see the image of my heart and to see if there was any damage or scar tissue or any kind of anything affected, not just with my lungs, and not just to see if the clot was reducing in size, but to also see if there was any damage to my heart. And that was hard to do. I also want to add that, in addition to not being able to walk on my own, I had to have physio 3 times a week. So that was mentally and physically draining, but it helped me. But I didn't have physio immediately. Number one, I was too scared to even try because the clot burden was tremendous. It's like having a ton of bricks on your chest indefinitely. And even it was difficult to be human, honestly. I couldn't do anything. Showering was difficult. There was a time I couldn't even take the stairs. So my whole living room, it's pretty big. So I took over the floor. I didn't go upstairs. It's not like I didn't want to, could not. So luckily we have a washroom downstairs on the main floor, and that's where I'd go to freshen up. And to make matters worse, I couldn't be alone. Ever. So at this time, I'm not married yet. I still have my man. We're married now. But at that time, we're not living together and we're not married yet. So I can't be alone. So for 1 whole year, my mother slept beside me because I just couldn't be alone. That's a PTSD aspect. And not just could I not sleep alone, I couldn't be alone in a room. And part of the reason is because I don't need a therapist to tell me I've already done the work. I've already reflected on this. I know the reason 100%. Remember when I said that I passed out in my room and it's like I wasn't dead, but I wasn't alive at the same time? I was in a position where I have never seen or experienced this sort of darkness before. It was void. It is scary. It's not like darkness where that we experience here on Earth, where the sun goes down, the moon comes up, and the moon and the stars brighten up the sky, or it's dark outside, but you can use a flashlight, da 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 da. This one is, my eyes are open and I see nothing. And there's a silence, and there's a void, and there's an emptiness, there's a nothingness of what I'm experiencing. And I forgot to also mention that when I passed out in my room, I heard a flatline. So till this day, I cannot hear a flatline. It takes me back to that place. I'm affected. I'm uncomfortable. I actually plug my ears. I'm not okay. And it's not just a flat line. There are other sounds and frequencies that if I hear, even till this day, I'm not okay. And so, I don't know if I can ever forget it, but I think this is something that people might call a death experience or a near-death experience. So I'm never gonna say I died and came back. I don't know what it was, but I know that I wasn't alive. I also know that I don't know if I can say I was dead too. But what I can say is I was in an in-between phase, in an in-between environment. And I'll never say that I saw the light. I'll never say that I saw God. I'll never say that I saw the angels. I didn't see anything. It was void. Right now, as I'm talking to you, I can still see it. And it's a very scary place because it's you're alone. There's no one there. It's dark. The silence, is deafening. And I'm hearing a flat line. So for a whole year, like I said, I could not sleep alone. I had to have someone beside me. And even during the day, I needed to have somebody in the room with me at all times, 24/7. I was not okay. I cringed. So it took a very long time for me to get to a place where it was okay for me to be on my bed or in the living room and no one was there. If you were gone, it had to be 5 seconds, or else I start to squirm and get really scared and have a panic attack. And panic attacks are anyway. So getting back to the physio, and you'll have to excuse me for being kind of all over the place. So like I mentioned before, my memory is staggered. I'm just trying to recall this to the best of my abilities. And so with the physio, I didn't start physio immediately. And I learned later on that I should have, because one would think because of the clot burden and the pain and the pressure and just my inability to move and to I was just contracted and just, I don't know, almost like a vegetable, but not. And trapped in my body. I was never given that direction from my GP or the doctors at the hospital that I should start physio. I actually started physio, I would say 3 months later, 3 or 4 months later after being hospitalized. And I went for my checkup for my echocardiogram. And I had informed the specialist at the time that, hey, what say you about physio? Because I'm thinking that I'll need it. And they're like, oh, you're not doing physio? And I'm like, no, I'm not doing physio. I wasn't given any direction to do it. And also I'm scared because I can't even lift my arms. I can't even do certain things. And so I never really thought to speak up and even suggested or inquire about it. Because I don't want to do more damage. Mind you, I'm not a medical professional, so how would I know that even in the midst of just going through this health trauma, I should have been doing some sort of physio, just to kickstart the process, kickstart the healing process. So anyways, I mentioned that to them, and they actually prescribed me physio for a government program. And the only reason I was eligible, because typically this program is only open to people of a certain demographic or age group. And, I'm not in my 60s. I'm not in my 70s. I'm not an elderly person. I wasn't in an accident. They have like the criteria that you must fit to be eligible. But the only reason I was eligible was because I was hospitalized for a few days, almost a week, because of this health scare. And so I was eligible to receive or to go to this clinic that provides physiotherapy under this government program. And so I was able to go for a few months for three times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And that was hard. Like, I don't know, it's very hard to like speak on this because it was one of like the most difficult times of my life. Can you imagine like doing high jump, long jump, 100-meter sprint, 100-meter relay, shot put, discus, and volleyball for I don't know how many years, like 10 years, consistently. Like for me, my pride was like really like bruised. My ego was bruised. My confidence was bruised. My strength, I was reminded that I'm just human, because I've never felt human. I've always felt invincible because I've always had strength. I've always been very tough. Physically, I've been like a girly girl, and I am a girly girl. Like, don't break a nail, that type of girl. But at the same time, I'm like very hardcore, wrestling with my dad since I was young. And people think I'm gonna break something, and I'm like, I just get up and walk like nothing happened, And then all of a sudden, I'm like, I can't walk. I can't move. I can't breathe properly. And this is not because of COVID. This is because I have a blood clot in my lungs. And it's a huge blood clot. Like, it was like huge. Like huge. Like, I would say like this. Huge. Can you imagine this being here? This is really heavy, guys. I am like trying my best not to break down right now. Let me just breathe. So, like I mentioned before, for a whole year, I did not work. I wasn't able to work because it also affected my mental capacity and abilities. Because, of course, breathing and oxygen, that's like, without that, like, everything else is affected, right? So I wasn't even able to eat on my own. To lift a spoon and a fork was too heavy for me. So I was fed for a whole year. I didn't do dishes for a whole year. I didn't clean for a whole year. I didn't work for a whole year. I was practically just in my cocoon, and because this was all happening during the height of the COVID pandemic, and I was already working remotely, so it was very easy for me to stay in my comfort zone, which is home. And keep in mind that it's funny how this happened, because then I ended up living with my parents for a whole year. I just wanted to visit them for Christmas. Like, the plan was to like visit them for Christmas and then go back to my condo and my career in a nearby city. And I didn't go back. I ended up living in my parents' home for a whole year. So one would be like, what was happening to that condo that was there? Even my landlady didn't even know what was happening to me. And at that time, I was like, I have money saved up. Your girl is smart. I wasn't like just working and living, paycheck to paycheck. I was saving that money. Okay. So for a whole year, I was living with my parents in their home. But you see, I'm a very structured and disciplined person. So even though I needed a lot of help and a lot of support, I was still paying my bills. What is wrong with me? Like, there's nothing wrong with me when I say this, but it's like, even sickness and a health trauma could not stop me from being disciplined. So I was paying rent for a place that I did not live in for a whole year. That was a lot of money, and that was not cheap. It was not cheap at all, but I was paying it because I wanted to hold on to it. One would be like, I wasted so much money, but I was holding on to it because I was still, I don't know if I was like just being unrealistic, but I was like, I'm just gonna like be home for like 1 month, 2 months, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, and I'll just go back. So I wanted to have my own place. Obviously, it took longer. The recovery process took 2 years. 2 years. I don't even know why I'm laughing, but I think I'm laughing because it's like I underestimated what was happening and, was thinking, okay, this is what's happening, but I'm going to go back. No big deal, because I'm trying to still be responsible. I also, as I'm recollecting my journey and everything that's transpired, sometimes like the memory just pops in. So it just came to my mind that I also was in university. Oh my God, so much was happening, and I was taking some courses. I already have my education, but I was taking some courses at the university, and I actually had an exam 2 days after I was hospitalized. So, and it was just weird because I was in the hospital and I was just thinking about how this proposal is due. I was thinking about how am I going to write this exam. So luckily, that professor, God bless her soul, I filled out the form for a deferral request, and I asked my sister to just send that form to her on my behalf. And I had explained to her what was happening. And the goal or the thought for me was, okay, I'm just gonna, I need I don't know how long this is gonna take, but I can't write it because I'm in the hospital. And so luckily, fast forward, it's taking time for me to get better. So I'm checking in with the registrar, what can be done and whatnot. And luckily what happened was, I was in no position to do anything. I couldn't think for myself. I couldn't, I was able to think to a degree for myself, basic things, but in terms of just using my cognitive functions to solve problems and to work and to school and assignments, let alone an exam, no, it was not happening. And so what had happened was, the department, either the department or the professor on behalf of the department, kind of exempted me from the exam, only because I was an exceptional student, only because, all my quizzes, my tests, my assignments, and also my participation in class and just the entire course was it was exceptional. So obviously, what's a person going to do? Obviously they have protocols of how that would look like, and next steps and whatnot. So that's what had happened. Anyways, yeah, I'm sure I'm missing a lot of information, but yeah, I know this is a podcast about my journey with MS or multiple sclerosis. But before that happened, I had a major health scare. And so I'm sure there's more I have to say, but I'm going to wrap it up right now and probably have another episode that builds up or leads to the MS diagnosis. But yeah, guys, it hasn't been easy. Still not easy. And I wish I could say that, I went through that, I came on the other side of it, and I'm good. It's a lie. Like, I did come out of it. I did make it. I am still alive. So I just want to also acknowledge, I don't want to sound like, okay, I'm being pessimistic about it and I should be grateful that I'm alive. Of course I am. I cheated that, literally. So yes, I am grateful to be alive. I'm glad that I made it. But it's not easy. And it's not pretty. And there are a lot of ugly things that have come with it, even though my outlook on life has changed completely. The birds, the sound of the birds, for me, it's majestic. The sky and the color of the sky. When I say it's bluer than bluer, then bluer than bluer, I think people who have gone through traumatic events in their lives, where you've either died and came back or almost died and came back, and it's like your life flashes in front of you. You've been to the other side or almost to the other side and you come back. It's like the meaningless things that we capitalize on and focus on and just stress over is like BS. And not to invalidate people's experiences, but it's like, why are we stressing about unnecessary, meaningless things? I do not wish this on anyone. I don't want anyone to experience this. You don't have to go through this to know what it means to live or to appreciate life. I've always appreciated life. I'm one of those people where it's kind of weird, but that's just me. You will be with me and we're friends or we're family, and I'll still miss you while you're right beside me. Because I'm not one of those people where you have to be away from me for me to miss you. I miss you when you're even beside me. And it sounds kind of twisted, you're right there. But for me, it's more like I'm living in the moment and I'm appreciating your presence, your very being. So when you're not with me, I don't miss you in the way that most people do, because when you're with me, I am ever so present. Anyways, guys, so I'll be dropping another episode for you, and I will delve a little bit more into my story, specifically leading to my MS diagnosis. I know this was heavy. There's more information and more facts that I have to share, but I don't want this to be too long. So I hope you enjoyed it, and tune in for the next one. Thank you.